Hey guys, and welcome to episode 126 of Meeple to Meeple. I am back. If you watched last week's episode where I interviewed Mark about talking about Fury of Elements, then you saw that I was back. But I'm back home. I'm back in the Meeple to Meeple studios. I would like to extend a gratitude to Adam from Tabletop Vibes one last time for the invitation to go to his studio, hang out with him and his family, and meet Mark and bring him and his game to you last week. So thank you. I want to thank all the well-wishers. I am feeling much better. I'm not 100%, but hopefully soon, because Origins is this weekend, and we're going to be busy as all get out, hanging out with content creators and publishers. So look forward to some live collaborative reports from Origins Game Day. So this week's episode, teaching games that turn people into Meeples, and to talk about building community through teaching games or using your teaching skills to build community is Brian from Always Plays Blue. Brian, how are you?
Hi, PJ. I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, no, this is exciting. Thank you for being on. I'm really glad to finally get you on. We haven't seen each other since last year, Cajun Con.
Yes, yeah. Didn't get a chance to play a game with you, but yeah, we did.
I know.
Chat a bit.
I was heartbroken about that. It was just, I was really, to be honest with you, I was so touched and surprised by how many people showed up. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Right? Yeah. My wife, as an extension, she was like, these people love you. Like, this is crazy. I can't get 30 people to come to Springfield to visit me, but to get everyone to go to Southampton, it's like, oh my gosh, that was great.
It's a good group.
So thanks for being there. I'm sorry we didn't get to play a game, but you know what we do get to do is talk about teaching games and community building. How cool is that?
That's brilliant, yeah.
So you had brought up this topic about you've been teaching a lot of games to family members and casual gamers, right? That's kind of what you've been doing a lot lately. So let's start with our great friend, the Greek philosopher Socrates, ready to go. He said that teaching is the kindling of a flame and not the filling of a person. So here's the question. How do you kindle the flame of casual gamers, Brian?
It's these are people that don't like, a lot of these people I teach don't really have their own games collections and things like that, we do. As you can see from all the things that the people like you may have behind us now.
Absolutely.
It's getting them excited to enjoy a sit down and discover the hobby that we're so passionate about.
Right.
And also get them excited to want to come back and do it again and again. That one play is important because it can get them to have an interest in a hobby and bring them in. So good first impression is what we're after.
So is it, when you do that, when you're teaching a game, is it your teaching skill, or is it the nature of the games that you teach? Like, I'm interested in your strategies, like when you're going to go to a games day or family or whatever, and it's like, are you choosing games that are going to help kindle the flame, as Socrates would say? Or is it that you have developed this skill to create that welcoming moment and kindle the flame? It's probably both, but
a little bit. I'd say more about the games. It's making that decision to pick the games. You don't want to put a game down, like I say, you're trying to encourage these people in, so you don't want to put down a massive box and say, right, your first game you've ever played, here's Twilight Imperium, and then watch them run to the borders. So picking the right games. You want the things with sort of minimal actions. Not lots of different things you can do on a turn. You want to keep it very basic. Short turns, things like that.
Right. So I know you have a list of games prepared. So I know people like to do like top fives and things of that nature, but let's go straight to the top. What is your number one game? It's your go-to. You're pulling it off the shelf to teach it. Hands down.
Carcassonne. Absolutely. Yep.
That's a good one.
I was going to build up to it, but we'll start with the best one, you'd like to say.
Yeah. No, let's start with number one. Don't save that for last.
It's downhill from here. No.
Yep.
I know some people kind of go off the older classic games like the Ticket to Ride and Catan and Carcassonne, but it's, like I say, you want a game with simple and quick actions, and it's just so basic, but there's a lot underneath it that's a new player can kind of get into, because all you're doing is picking up a tile. You've got no choice to make other than where you're going to place that one tile.
Right.
That's all you've got to do, and that choice is obviously dictated by a number of factors about legal placement already. So you're cutting down your options for the player. Yeah, and it's really nice because there's two ways to play Carcassonne as well. There's the nice way that you play with new players, and then once they're into it, you can sort of teach them the more aggressive method that I like to play when I'm with people that play it a lot.
So that's a great option. I want to thank you for that, because that's my favorite mechanic is tile placement. I just look, for me, I don't even play to win that game anymore. For me, it's all about making the map on the table.
Yes.
But here's the thing: when people know that about me, and if they play Carcassonne with me, they will intentionally, when they draw the piece that you need to fill in that spot, because they know that I abhor a vacuum, and I'm like, we've got to get this map filled. I'm not going to win, but we got to fill this map, and they won't do it. They'll hold on to it. Yeah, that just breaks my heart. Do you have teaching strategies for how you play Carcassonne, or how you teach it, rather?
I think some of these games on the list, and Carcassonne's one of them, they're very good at teaching as you go. You can give like a basic overall, like these are the different tiles you're going to get. So this is the Abbey tile, this is the road tile, and just let the players know that this is how it's going to score now, this is how it's going to score at the end of the game. But it's such a good game for just like, pick a tile, what have you got, show me what you've got, and we can go through your options and that, and then, yeah, it's great for that.
Because Carcassonne can be a large game. It's got so many expansions. Yeah. So I guess first of all, do you have them all?
No.
Or most of them? Okay.
No. I've only got the Inns and Cathedrals myself.
Okay.
But my brother-in-law has got a few more. So we play bigger games when we go up and see them.
Okay. Yeah. That was my question, is do you like introduce a group of people to Carcassonne, and then once they feel good about it and they like it, do you like introduce more expansions as time goes on?
Yeah. So I will drop the I can't remember what it's called now. The Farms and Fields. That's always a tricky one to teach new players. So I'll drop that straight away. But once they're confident in it, I'll bring that back in. And then I've also got the version I've got has the rivers and the abbots with it as well.
Yeah,
and the river's amazing. Because, just to start the game off like that.
Yeah, and it's a nice casual way to start the teach. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
And then I'll bring in the Inns and Cathedrals, because that's a fun one then, because you sort of it puts the pressure on them for the incompletion. You don't want to not finish the city.
That's true. That's very true. I like that. That's great. So I was thinking about yet another one of our Greek philosophers, Epictetus. He said that you should seek not the good in external things, i.e. games, but rather within ourselves, but do so in community with others. And I feel like, just listening to you talk about how you teach Carcassonne, I feel like you really do that, right? It's not about the game. You're seeking within yourself that which is good, and then you are sharing that in a community as if you've got some responsibility. And I think you seem to execute that well through Carcassonne. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. What's your second game that you like to teach that's been successful for you?
I've got all of them down here, so I'm going to be bringing them up one at a time.
Okay. So those of you who don't like to watch the videos, you're not going to see any of these, but that's true. Too bad. That's true. It's too bad, and I don't care.
This is Quirkle.
I've never played Quirkle, so you're going to have to, you're going to have to run that down for me.
I've got a travel version up there, but this is the deluxe one. We love it so much, we brought a second version.
Absolutely.
Quirkle is basically Scrabble, but with shapes and colours instead. So you're placing a tile and trying to keep either the colour of the 6 symbols or the same symbol but with the 6 different colours. And if you can get them lined up, then you get sort of extra points for having 6. You get an extra 12 points, or you score 12 points.
Right.
But it's just one of those, again, tile laying where you're just putting out on the board and it's spreading out. There's no board for it, so you can play it on anyone's table. You don't need to have anything other than a bag of tiles.
That's cool. Yeah. Like Scrabble, do you have like a little easel where you keep, or is it more like dominoes where you just, how is that
do
work?
In the collectors. Yeah, the collectors one came with those. It was really nice.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's been a successful game for you when you teach that.
It has, yeah. So there's a board game group local to us. I haven't been for a few months because I've had a lot going on with my studies and with the building works outside. But earlier in the year, I was asked to go along and do. They do like introduction tables, so they do like a very basic one and then sort of like a next level advanced one. And I was asked to do, and I took along Splendor and I took along Quirkle, And Quirkle went down very well with the ladies I was teaching, because it is, you're taking Scrabble, which is a game that everyone knows, even if they don't play it.
Right.
And you're saying,
Right.
this is like Scrabble, but just here's the change. It's colours and shapes instead of words. And that's a great leveler as well, because you don't need to have a thesaurus in your head to get these high scores. Everyone's on the same playing field because it's just 6 colours, 6 shapes. Yeah, and it's just brilliant. And when somebody gets that, it's called a Quirkle when you get 6 in a row. And when someone gets that, it's a table cheer, even if you set them up.
That's a really, I'm thinking about that. That's a very simple. It's a simple mechanic. It's a simple game. I can see why it's one you would like to teach. It's very accessible, both socially and intellectually. But I can feel like that's a little bit. There's a lot of strategy, because you're not trying to put a word together like you would in Scrabble. You're trying to think about colors, and then you're trying to think about shapes. Wow, that's good.
I'll always let players know at the beginning, there are 3 identical tiles. So there's like 3 orange circles, 3 green circles, 3 orange squares, 3 blue stars, whatever. So you can start to as you get to learn the game, you can start having your 6 in front of you to choose from. And you're like looking down, I've got an orange circle. There's already 2 on a board there, and there's a potential Quirkle over there. I know nobody else can place that circle. So you're going to hold on to it and let someone else build those oranges up. So you do start I tend to divide mine into 2. I have ones I'm holding on for big moves later, and then ones I'm just getting rid of to cycle through my tiles. Yeah, once everyone knows that that's it, and they can sort of count the tiles then and plan for their moves.
What's the player count on Quirkle?
It goes up to 4.
4. So when you teach it, do you usually play, or do you have 4 players and you just kind of teach and oversee? How does that look like?
It depends on player count. When I taught that game, I was the 5th person at the table, so I was happy to just sit back and then I can sort of advise people, like, what tiles have you got? You might want to think about this. And it's always good to not just teach them the rules of the game, but teach them the tactics of the game as well.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. Quirkle, man, I'm gonna have to get a copy and play that. Is that one of the? I know that it starts with the letter Q, but it's there's a few games that all begin with the letter Q, like Koali. And
no, it's not one of those. I know the ones you're on about. Yeah. No, it's not.
Okay, it's not in that series. Okay,
no.
Good to know then. So it's something a little bit different.
And there is you can't see it now, but there's a nice travel version that just comes in small box, and the tiles are a lot smaller. That's what we normally play with.
I bet that's really just easy to take with you to a restaurant or a pub or something like that, and the tiles, are they wooden? Are they plastic? Are they metal?
So in the normal version and in the travel version they're wooden, but in the deluxe one they're acrylic, a bit like the Azul tiles.
Okay. So that one's really good for going to a pub or something, because if you spill your drink or whatever, it's going to be no problem. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. Quirkle. Carcassonne and Quirkle. That's 1 and 2. I love it. So what's your third game that you're like, I'm going to teach this and everyone's going to fall in love and the community is just going to blow up?
Well, it's funny that you should say the word love, because it's Love Letter.
Love Letter. I did not see that coming.
No,
that's a good one, and I love how I set that up and didn't even.
Thank you very much for that. This one's really, really good because each player has a card in their hand, and then on their turn they draw a second card. So again, it's that keeping the choices minimal when you're teaching games to sort of new and casual gamers. So yeah, they've got if you use the spies as well, there's only 10 different cards in the game. And then it comes with a little reference sheet that tells you the card counts for each of them and what they all do. So even the cards you don't have in front of you, you know what their powers are. So they have all that information, and they've just got a very basic 1 or 2 decision. We played a game, actually. We talked to someone at the weekend at the expo, and the first sort of round or 2, he's a bit unsure, but then you could see him ticking over, like, I need this information. If I put this down, it screws. I'm going to see that person's card, and you can see it all clicking in his head. And at the end, he went on to. He came second, but it was very close at the end to get him against my wife.
Right.
That was fun to watch the final of those two going off against each other.
That's one of my wife and I's favorite games to take with us when we're traveling, because it's so small, so portable. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, my stepmother and my eldest sister came up from Louisiana to visit. We had just bought our house, so I finally had space for them to stay with us before living in a tiny apartment. And so that was really nice. They stayed here for a week, and I taught them Love Letter. It was really funny, because I remember one moment where they're still learning the abilities, like you said. They've got the little reference card that lets them know what each character does. So I think it's my stepmother. She plays the priest, and she tells my sister, "Let me look at your card." And so then my sister was next. So she played a priest. And she's like, "Let me see your card then." And I'm like, "Yeah." So you got to be careful with those emotions for such a simple game. You can't make emotional decisions in Love Letter, especially like that. It's like, okay, guys, you just wasted your priests. I'm just saying. But I love that. How often have you taught Love Letter, and how does it get received by the people that you introduce it to?
I haven't taught it enough, but it's a game that you pull out first of all, and people see the red velvet. I don't know what I'm holding up to the camera, but they see that red velvet bag and the kind of like there's a princess and a prince and blah blah. And people, I get a lot of sort of doubt in their eyes, but once you get like 2 or 3 rounds in, and they can see that the cleverness of like playing cards to reveal other people's, and when you is it the, I can't remember if it's the king or the prince, but there's one where if you have another card in your hand, you have to play it, but you can also bluff that as well, so you can put it down and make people think you've got.
Right.
And once they sort of connect that, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have to be." I love games to bluff. That's a whole separate episode. But yeah, it's just seeing people's brains click with certain tactics once they start learning those cards. It's just fantastic.
That's a great one. Love Letter. That's a good one.
And then if you want to bump it up a level, then you go for Lovecraft Letter, which has that extra dimension of the madness cards.
Oh, see, I haven't.
Have you ever played that one?
No. The only other version of Love Letter I played was the Star Wars. What is it, Jabba's palace? Or I didn't care for it. It did some weird things that seemed to overcomplicate. Like, Love Letter is so perfect and seamless. I mean, 16 cards and a few little red cubes in a red velvet bag. Mine's old, so it's not,
I was going to say
hearts. Yeah, I got an old version. I got cubes. It came with cubes, not little wooden hearts. Yeah, so that's how that goes with Love Letter. It's a good one. So we've gone Carcassonne, we've gone Quirkle, we've gone Love Letter. So what's next on the list?
We're going to get to the aggressive games now.
Oh, okay.
Next up is King of Tokyo.
Okay, now that's one I know.
I say this again. It's basic rules, simple actions. It's Yahtzee style. Before a lot of people remember playing Yahtzee, it's just like rolling those dice, re-rolling, looking for punches, watching the banter start between the players as like, I'm punching you, you're punching me back, and people going for revenge, even though it's not tactically viable to do that because they're on their last few hearts. It's like, I could heal, but I want to punch you. And yeah. And then it goes up to 6 players as well, which is really, really great for getting a nice group together. Yeah,
where
like this game.
Where do you, again, is this where you usually teach it at the local game group that you were talking about, or?
Yeah, and also I used to, before I left my last job, I started a little board game corner. I asked the head of the company if I could have £200, and because I found a 2x2 Kallax in storage somewhere. And I was like, I'm going to set up a little board game corner for my work buddies, and we're going to start a board game club. And King of Tokyo was one of the first games that I got us all into, because it's not very long. So for a lunch break, everyone can have their food, and then we can get a quick game or two of that out. And yeah, you get a lot of emails after the game where everyone's sort of like discussing how they're going to get back at you later.
It's interesting because so you had 3 games that were very kind of like stimulated thought, right? They kindled the social and intellectual flame, as it were, and that's got a great appeal when you're introducing it to new players. But then with King of Tokyo, that kind of take that and adversarial, that also kindles a more social flame.
Yeah.
And is rather successful. I think one of my favorite things about King of Tokyo is it's so accessible for children. I know that I have a friend here in Springfield who, that was one of the games he played with his kids when they were younger. They're all grown adults now, but he had a lot of success with that. Hey, tell me about, how much experience have you had dealing with children and teaching games to kids in these groups, in these experiences you've had?
Not many. We don't have any kids that go to the local group. The 2 experiences I would say I've had is I went to GridCon a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Which is like a Paul Grogan, Board Gaming Rules. He does like a little convention in the south of England. And we were setting up, my wife and I were setting up a game of the White Castle, which we absolutely love. And it's one of those situations where you can put a little flag on the end of your table that asks for more players.
Yep.
And my my wife had just popped to the loo, and I was just sat there on my own and that. And then a gentleman came over with his little boy and asked if he could play. And I was like, oh, he's like a really small child, and like this is a complex game. But I didn't say anything. I was like, more the merrier. And when my wife came back, I could see the child sat down and be like, what's going on? This kid, I don't know, him and his dad must just play really complex games, like Lacerda level stuff. Because I explained the rules once, and I said, "Are you okay with all that?" And he was like, "Yep, got it." And he played on the same level as us for the whole. He was amazing, that kid. Yeah, and I had chats with him later on the weekend, and yeah, he knows his stuff.
So UK Expo was what? That was last weekend?
Last weekend, yeah.
Last weekend. You were there. I know that a lot of people bring their kids. There's a lot of families that go to the Expo. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering if you've had any experience teaching games or just playing with kids at the Expo. Either this one or in previous.
The only kids that we really played with is when we visit with Nick and Shelley, Board Game Review UK.
Oh, yep.
They're 3 kids who are, they are, all 3 of them, even the youngest, they are amazing at games. In fact, we've sat down with the youngest because he wanted to teach us a game and he taught it flawlessly.
Nice.
Which you'd expect from a child of Nick. But yeah, he was, those kids are brilliant. For me personally, outside of the groups and that, I have my son who's, I can't not softly push games onto him. So we've been building this collection up. We started with like the sort of the kiddie games you get in a supermarket, the ones that are bad enough that we get irritated by them. But we're now moving into all the My First Ticket to Ride, My First Prize one. And he's loving it. And then he recently became addicted to Yahtzee, which we love playing anyway, but he demands we play multiple games that every weekend. And a game called Roll For It.
Oh yeah, Roll For It. Don't let Craig from Get Into Games know that you like Yahtzee.
Oh, is that another one he hates?
It's I like his biggest game that he loves to hate on is Dice Throne, and he just calls it Marvel Yahtzee, and because he hates Yahtzee, which is interesting. I have a friend here in Springfield who just hates Yahtzee. So we like to buy the different IP versions of Yahtzee and like give that to him for Christmas as kind of a gag gift. But
we're visiting Craig next. I think it's next month or the month. No, I think it's August. I'm going to take Yahtzee up there.
You definitely, you should do that. Yeah. You should do that. Don't tell him I told you to do that, but that would be.
There will be no evidence of this conversation.
No, there will not. It's not like he's going to listen to this or watch this episode and be like, he's going to stop being my friend, man. That's crazy. That's great. No, that's awesome. So how old is your kid?
He's 12, nearly 13.
He's 12. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I want to tell you a quick story. Mm-hmm. This happened to me just this weekend when I was at the Tabletop Vibes studio hanging out. Adam has his daughter Talia. She's 6 or 7. See, I don't have any kids. I'm terrible at this. So I don't have the parental, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, but
she's in this bracket.
She is amazing. She is like this just coolest kid ever. And so we were supposed to play some board games, but instead she wanted to stay up with Dad and she wanted to teach us Lorcana. And so we ended up, so she's crazy for Lorcana. And so she taught us, it was like, so Adam and Mark were here, and then she and I were here. And so we played each other, they played each other, and she taught us how to play Lorcana.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was great. It was really great. I love that moment. Because I don't have any kids, I don't get a lot of opportunities to interact at the game table with kids. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I have nieces and nephews. My niece recently graduated high school, so she's 18 now. She's not much of a gamer, and she's in Louisiana, so I don't get to see her very often. My nephew is 5, or I think he's about to turn 5, and is starting to kind of, a little bit play games. But then I see more of him, but we haven't really played a lot of games.
Yeah.
So I don't get that opportunity very often. But so many of our friends, both here in the U.S. and the UK, y'all all have kids of various ages. And what I like about the UK Expo is that you bring your families. I know that Craig and Becky, they brought their girls on the Sunday, but I know that Brad and Susie bring their kids for the whole time that they're there, and they manage that accordingly. So, I'm always interested in hearing about how gamers interact with children of all ages, and then teaching games and what that's like. So thank you for indulging me in that. for a moment and sharing, because
No,
that's pretty great.
it's tough to teach kids because you're not just teaching them games, you've got to teach them that win-loss thing. And my son was quite difficult at the beginning because it was okay if you won a game, but then he
Right.
needed to win the next one, and if he didn't, then he'd start to get shirty about it. But you don't want to gift it to them and teach them that, you know, a
Right.
win's easy because they've moaned about it. So it was very difficult for us to get to that point, but he's really, really good with it now.
So it's like you let him win, and when you stop letting him win, when he starts beating you like legitimately, that's when you know you've
I avoided the letting him win.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, and so we started off in the early days with Connect 4.
Okay.
And I wouldn't let him win, but I would very much, if I saw him making a move that was going to give me the win, I would just like tap the top of the row and say like focus, and he'd pull back and like look at everything. And it was teaching him to take his time. Yahtzee was good for that as well, because he would roll some dice, pick out 2 2s, and I'd be like, but look at what else you've got. I wouldn't tell him what to do, but I would tell him to sort of stop and think about his turn, not rush it. And he's starting to really plan his moves now. So yeah, that was quite good.
I imagine that's the real challenge, is because you're teaching them to think and be aware rather than just teaching a basic mechanic of a game, right? Would you say that that's true? Yeah.
Yeah, he comes to me as well with a lot. He comes in this room and looks and says, like, almost as if the games have got like a movie certificate on them. He's like, what age is that game? It's like, it's not that you're not old enough or you are old enough to play it. It's whether you can understand the mechanics and everything. And so we'll get to those games, I promise, but we've got to start.
Yeah, I love that. I find that, so I think that this conversation, this about kids and everything, it reminds me of, so there's a quote from the Roman orator Cicero. Cicero said that we were born not for ourselves, but for others. And if you know anything about Cicero, Cicero was all about the key to all of his philosophy in ancient Rome was trust, right? And it's always about putting people first. The Republic in Rome can only survive if we put each other first. One could say that America could learn a lesson from Cicero, but that's, given our current situation, but that's neither here nor there. And it seems like that's exactly what you're doing, especially with kids. You got to put them first. I think that's true. Would you agree that that's just true about teaching board games in general?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know some people are on either side of the fence on this argument of whether, when you teach games, whether you should try to win or try not to win.
Right.
I think I had a really good experience with Craig a month or so ago. He taught us, retaught me Everdell, because my first experience had been with what I would categorize as an aggressive teacher, in that here's how you play the game, but I'm going to beat you. And he was very much, not being very helpful and telling me what I was doing wrong, as if he was scolding me. Whereas I realized half through the game, you can't make your players be afraid to ask you questions about their turns because they don't know the game. And
I agree with that completely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there was something I wanted to do, but it would reveal what I was planning, and I was a bit nervous about saying it, but I did in the end. And Craig is brilliant. He told me, yeah, no, you want to do that because it'll get you this many points and that. And then he didn't take that information and use it against me on his next turn. He did what he was going to do without that information. And I think that's really important, is to make sure your players know that if you're teaching them a game, they can show you the tile, or they can ask a question about the card that they want to use, because otherwise they're not going to learn everything.
Right. I love that. How easy or difficult is it for you personally to put on that teacher's hat, right, and adjust how you're going to play the game when you're teaching versus when you're playing, right? Like, does that come naturally to you, or what?
It does, yeah. It does. Yeah, I don't win many games, so I don't go into a game expecting to win. Right. So to back off and be like, I want to help one of you guys win is a piece of pie. Yep. But I don't need to win the game. I know the game. I play the game. I'm teaching the game. It's one of you lucky lot that's going to have that experience, and I want to help them have that.
And that's what building a community is all about, right? Is encouraging that shared experience so that everyone has a good time, and then kindling the flame, as Socrates said, right? Yeah.
It's not to say that the teacher can't win the game, if it plays out like that, but I don't think you should teach a game to a bunch of people and then go hunt a killer and keep things to yourself. And I think try and encourage them. You want them
exactly.
back.
So you have a fifth game on your list that
I
you
do.
want to talk about. Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me about the last game on the list.
Ignore everything I've said in the last 4 games now. We're going full evil.
Oh, we're going full evil.
This game, Survive Escape from Atlantis, is such a fun game to teach people. This is like with King of Tokyo. This is more about. It's less about the actual game itself, and it's more about building that experience and having that laughter around the table, because it's a game that just builds chaos and turns everyone on each other, but in equal measures. So you're not picking on one person and giving them a bad game. Everyone's having a bad game at the same time. And it's just fantastic for that.
So I got to be honest with you. I've never played that one either. So you have to tell me a little bit about the game itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know much.
So you have a board with it's just water, and you have tiles that make up an island in the middle, hex tiles, and they are mountains, jungle, and sort of beach. And they're different thicknesses. So you'll place your meeples at the start of the game on these different tiles, and then you're trying to get to the 4 corners of this board by moving them onto these boats and avoiding sea serpents, sharks, whales in the water. But it's the level of interaction on this game. So you move your meeple a certain amount of places, and then you roll a dice, and it lets you do things like move certain sea creatures. So you're all sharing the monsters on the board and moving them. So I might move a shark 2 towards you, but if you're lucky enough to roll a shark on your turn, you might move it away towards me or towards someone else. You're taking up boats full of people, and it's just we have a whenever they're over, that's usually one of the games we play with them, and you have that meta with it as well afterwards, because it's like, remember what you did to me last game? Coming straight for your boat this time. Yeah, it's good. Like I say, it's good because once that first person sort of triggers the aggression, everyone just devolves into that. But there's nobody wins that game. Even if you do win with the points, nobody really wins that game. There's like one guy left on the beach all alone. Everyone else has just been wiped out.
Oh my gosh, that's great. That actually sounds fun. I really prefer more cooperative games generally. I mean, not every game is cooperative, right? Obviously, even in my collection, but that does sound kind of fun. I think it's the campiness, right? It seems playful and campy, and that kind of, it's not so hurtful. You know? Yeah. So what about your family? You talked a lot about gaming groups, but you had also mentioned when we were talking about this idea, you had mentioned your family too. Does your family have like a favorite game that you have taught, or they want you to reteach whenever you get together? That is not meant to be a trick question.
No, I'm just thinking. So my wife comes from a gaming family, whereas I don't.
Okay.
And so when she introduced me to them for the first time 5 years ago, I just fell in love with them, because these guys play games to this level. It's fantastic. And we play a lot, because of the size of us. Normally when we go around there, it's 7 people. So we play a lot of the big party games, like your Cash and Guns, which is fantastic. Secret Hitler, which is evil but fun. A lot of the small box card games like Spicy. Wandering Towers I think my brother-in-law got that last year. That's a brilliant game. 6 players again.
That game is fantastic.
It's amazing.
It gets better with the higher player count.
Yes.
Although it scales well. It's very good at 2.
Yeah.
It just gets it's tighter. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. So what's their favorite? Like what do you guys, putting aside teaching, like when your family gets together, what do they like? Hey, we're gonna play this.
Secret Hitler gets requested a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you tried that?
No, because that's a controversial game.
Mm.
And it's a topic here in America where people have very strong feelings about it, one way or the other. So we just kind of avoid it altogether, right?
Understandable.
Yep. So it's a social deduction game, though, right? I mean, at its core, is it?
Yeah.
So I think, I can't speak for anyone. I can only just talk about my observations, since I've never played Secret Hitler. But I've heard people share their opinions, and I understand them, because the theme is very controversial. I think there are other social deduction games that execute better, maybe, and so they're more enjoyable to the current American audience. Again, I can't speak for the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I think that's why Secret Hitler is just kind of one of those games that it's like there's some key topics that you just avoid when you're at the dinner table with your friends and family. Like, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about abortion, and you don't talk about Secret Hitler.
No.
Right?
That's true. Yeah.
So just kind of one of the. So it's interesting. It's interesting to hear you talk about that. And so that's a game that hits. I
It's a
get
surprise.
why though.
Yeah, it's a surprise they've not done like a reskin maybe to make it more marketable.
I want to say that they did, but so to be honest, I'm like the worst person to talk about this because I don't like social deduction games.
Okay.
And I don't. And as an extension, I really hate trader mechanic games.
Mm-hmm.
I have, through childhood trauma, I have trust issues. So lying to my face, I love Craig and Becky, and I know that Becky's favorite game is Blood on the Clock Tower, and she and I talked about it. She knows this. I can't play Blood on the Clock Tower, but I have remotely with Craig and their group, right? So we'll get on
And with
Discord.
me.
And, yeah. Yes.
You and
Yes.
me won a game.
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we
Yeah. I
win a
think
game?
one of us was the mathematician, and one of us was something else, clockmaker or something like that.
Okay, so
Yeah, you
Craig,
and me won.
Craig and I learned. Craig learned. He just makes me the clockmaker
Oh, okay.
because, like, yeah. Because there was a game that we played, and I got angry, right? And so we had to have a private chat later. He's like, "Okay, what happened?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I don't, I'm really frustrated. Here's this," and so we talked it out. And I think he's like, "I'll just give PJ the clockmaker. It lets me role play and like, whatever." Because the only reason I play is to be social with y'all. It's to just chat. Let's get in the private group. I know I'm supposed to help you figure out who the bad guy is, but so how's your wife and kids? Like, yeah, I'm the worst. I'm also bad at lying, which means if I were the demon, or in Werewolf, if I'm the bad guy, whatever it is, you're gonna know because I can't lie well. It's just
Yeah, there's a couple of games. I know Spyfall is one where it's the Pretender's another one. It's games where you hand out cards and one person is the spy or the pretender. So they don't have any information, but everyone else has like a word that you've got to then kind of give clues for, or like Fake Artist Goes to New York, that kind of stuff.
right.
And if you are picked first as the spy or the pretender, and you have zero information to go on, like if I get that card and then they say, "Right, Brian, you're first," I'm like, I'll just grin. I'm like, "Yeah, it's me. I can't even attempt to play this round because my face just gives it away."
Yep.
I struggle with the games. We did Cocktail for a while, my wife and I, but we struggle with that and with Werewolf as well because you need to understand all the roles, and Clocktail has so many roles in it.
So
Werewolf
many
not
roles.
so much.
Right.
Like Secret Hitler doesn't have as many games like Coup. Coup is really good because it's just 5 cards and you're always changing through them and that. So I prefer games like Coup that just have like very limited bluffing information.
Coup is one of my favorite games, and I've had people question me. It's like, because I'm very vocal about the fact that I have trust issues, right? And so if we're going to play a social deduction game, I just usually politely decline. And if people ask, then I'll tell them. But I mean, I'm an open book, so whatever you want to know about me, I'll tell you. And if you want to really get down deep into like how I discovered that this was really triggering for me, I would share that story. But Coup is one I really enjoy. I think because yes, bluffing is lying for sure. I recognize that as a truth. The fact though with is that you can be honest the whole time and win the game. You really can. So you don't have to bluff. But when I'm in a position where the way the cards are, I have to bluff, like, if I have 2 Contessas, and if anyone's ever played Coup, Contessas just block the assassin, and that's the only thing they do. So I have no choice but to claim that I have a role that I don't have because I happen to have drawn 2 of this same role, and they essentially don't do anything, So I've fallen into it's situational. I'm usually not very good, and most people call me on it. Occasionally, I get through. Yeah, I mean, sometimes sure people are like, oh, okay, you're the captain, whatever, or whatever role I'm bluffing on. But yeah, so I do enjoy that. I understand there's a little bit of bluffing. I mean, I've played, traditional like poker and Texas Hold'em and other traditional card games where bluffing is a key component. So I'm just not very good at them because it's not a skill that I developed because of my internal mechanisms that prevent me from doing so. But Okay, so games to teach to create a community with Carcassonne, Quirkle, Love Letter. These are more friendly games. King of Tokyo, a little bit of chaos because it's mostly random. Yep. And then we get into Survive, Escape from Atlantis, a little bit more evil, I think you said. And then just kind of a fan favorite of your family, Secret Hitler. That's a good group of games that kind of encourages the interactivity, the putting people first, all the things that the Greek philosophers have been talking about. I feel like you've really executed these well.
Thank you.
So I do have one last thing I want to talk about. Okay. So again, Roman philosopher Seneca, he said that when we teach, we also learn. So my question to you is, do you agree with that sentiment? Do you find that when you teach games, you also learn, either you learn to be a better player of the game you're teaching in the future, or you just learn to be a better teacher when you're teaching in the future? What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely learn to be a better teacher. Any experience you take away, what worked and what didn't in your teaching method, then you just fix that for next time. Specific games, it's just rules that people are having trouble getting. You can work on getting those across easier, and then working out game types that just aren't connecting with people. Sort of take those out and try different. So if nobody liked the aggressive games at all, and they were complaining about the fact that they're always fighting with each other, I'd take those bottom two out, and I'd find two more to bring in. So definitely every teaching session is a learning session that way.
Yeah. Have you has there ever been an instance where you learned something vital about yourself through teaching a board game? Like maybe you discovered something about yourself that kind of helped you in your own self-exploration, the journey that we're all going on. Has board games and teaching board games ever facilitated that for you? Yeah, we're gonna get deep now.
No, we are. Lean forward.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say anything so profound. Just that I love. I mean, I'm in the process of. I've gone back to university, so I don't have a job at the moment. I'm studying with the goal of going into teaching. So.
Okay.
Yeah, having confidence and being positive about teaching board games is going to be going up into teaching kids more than board games.
Right. What would you? So once you're done, you've completed university. What would you be teaching? Or is it general subjects, or is it a single subject?
Well, I'm currently studying English literature and creative writing, so I'll probably be going in that direction.
So you're going to be really teaching people to read and think critically about what they're reading, and then how that'll help them be creative and write their own works. And maybe you'll do a little writing yourself.
Yeah, I love writing. I do it a lot. I've done for years.
I would argue, though, that the teaching of board games to either casual gamers, new gamers, family members who aren't gamers, I think there's a lot of skills there's soft skills that you're developing that are going to be really helpful for you in the real world. Not that gaming's not the real world, but you know what I mean. In your alternative life, right? Because you're really
this is the real world.
That's why I say in your alternative career as a teacher, as opposed to a game, right? Alternative lifestyle, as it were.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I know you had a few others. Any other games that you want to talk about? Any other experiences that you'd want to share?
We mentioned Roll for It. That's a really...
Yep.
My son picked up so quickly. That's just basic dice rolling and then placing them to score cards. Going back to bluffing, Cockroach Poker is another one where it's about the experience at the table. It's about everyone laughing with everyone else, passing those cards around. Have you played Cockroach Poker?
So you asked. I'm going to tell you a story. It reveals a lot about me. I think Gareth talked about Cockroach Poker, and I was like, I think I should get that game. I think he encouraged me. So we picked up a copy at a local game store. We brought it over to my in-laws, my wife's family, for Christmas, and we played it. And I'm never going to play that game again. I didn't behave well. I mean, I didn't. Okay. At the time, I'm a grown man of 47. I'm now 50. And I mean, I threw a fit. I got really angry. I'm not proud of this moment at all. But I mean, I behaved like a child and I had to leave the room. I can't it's because it's intentional. The only way to win is through deception and cheating, and that's the whole thing. And the other game is Cheating Moth, right?
Yeah, oh
Yeah, both of them. I do have the ability to, self-control. This is why I'm asking you all these like deep questions, because when I play a game, this stuff comes out, right? So I know not to play them, but if we're going to play, I simply resign myself to the fact that I'm not going to win. I'm not going to, and not only am I not going to win, I'm not even going to play the game well. But if everyone else at the table really wants to play,
yeah.
I will do my best, and I will check my emotions at the door. Because remember, right? We're supposed to be doing this for others, right? We're not born for ourselves, but for others. So if the rest of the table wants to play Cheating Moth or Cockroach Poker, then for the greater good, right?
It's an odd game because we've talked about the inclusivity of everyone and making sure everyone's got the good, positive memories from the game.
Right.
And that is one game that I own, I think, that everyone wins apart from one person. There's no real winner. It's only one loser. And so that feels like it's a negative game, but it's probably one of the ones that I've had the most requests to play after teaching it again.
Right.
So even people that lose that have had a lot of fun and want to do it again.
Well, to be fair, I'm an oddball, right?
Next time you're over, we're playing. I'm bringing my copy and we're playing.
So I will tell you, currently, Katie and I have plans to return to the UK next year.
Oh, awesome.
One of the things that we discovered. So first of all, last year was my first time traveling internationally. I had never left the country. And so I got the bug. I was like, oh my God, we gotta go here. We gotta go here. Well, I mean, okay, great, but international travel still is expensive. So we've got to manage that. And, we kept talking about it. And Katie had such a great experience meeting everyone. She's like, well, maybe we can afford every other year. And still, my problem is that when I was in university, I studied non-spoken languages, right? So, I got a degree in Latin, ancient Greek. I studied classical Chinese. I studied Coptic and Sanskrit, right? Because I was an ancient historian and studying the ancient world. So I don't know how to speak any foreign languages, right? Read ancient languages, which has not helped me for international travel.
No.
But so we're thinking about going back to UK next year, and we want to spend, while we won't spend 4 or 5 days in London like we did, there were a few things we wanted to do that we just couldn't squeeze in. So we'll start there. 2 days in London, and then we're going to kind of move away. But this time we're going to go up to Scotland. Nice. We didn't get that option, but yeah. So that's possible. It is possible that we could play Cockroach Poker.
Yay!
I will play it with you. I will do that, and then you can laugh at me when I get angry, and you start seeing smoke come out of my ears. But I will say, what I have observed about that game is that people do enjoy it. It really makes people laugh. It generates that sense of community, which I love and I appreciate it. I can't,
Not every game is for every person.
It's not. We had that conversation this weekend with Tabletop Vibes Studio. It's like, not every game is for everyone, and you can't, if you're a designer, you can't design a game for everyone, right? It's just impossible. So yeah. So that's all I got. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else that you want to share?
No, I'm just going to carry on going out there and trying to get as many people into the hobby as possible.
I love it. Brilliant. Yeah, keep building that community. I really love that you're willing to put yourself out there and teach games to non-gamers and casual gamers. I think because it's hard. Teaching games can be difficult, and I love that you've been very careful to curate games that are easily accessible, that make it takes some of the burden of teaching off of your shoulders, because the games themselves are just so accessible. Yeah. So do you teach, are you as effective a teacher with like a heavier game, like a heavy Lacerda or a Euro, or are those more struggle, or how is that for you, like in general?
Yeah, I do try to be. There's a lot of games where we'll play them a lot at 2 players, and I always want that larger player count experience. We have a couple of friends that come over that like heavier games.
Yeah.
The last visit, I taught them Esmer and Nehemiah from Garfield Games.
Yep. It's a good one.
And I love teaching them. They're the kind of games that I have to have the manual, because there's so much stuff I know, and I regularly forget things. I'll get half through a game of something, be like, there's this other rule that I've completely forgot to mention, or I'll get so into the teach and then we start playing and I realise I've not told everyone what the win condition is or what we score on this game. So yeah, the bigger the game, the harder it is for me. I do love doing it still. I just love teaching games.
So I will say, to try to help you along with that, I know a lot of people know this already, and you probably already know it. You probably learned it. But so one of the things that, because my wife does most of the teaching, right? She's got a lot of opinions about rule books and how rule books are laid out, and she's very skilled at analyzing rule. And writing a rule book is hard. She's the teacher. I'm the passenger princess. I get to just like sit there and let her teach me a game. But that's just she needs that, right, when we hit the table. And I forgot where I was going with that. Why did I bring that up in the first place? It means that I don't teach as well, right? Yes. So she has said on countless occasions, and she learned that when she's teaching a game, no matter what the game is, the first thing she teaches is how to win, right? That's just how she starts. If we're gonna play From the Moon, if we're gonna play Men Nefer, if we're gonna play Civolution, which are some pretty heavy games, the first way to win is scoring victory points or getting these, whatever the win condition is. And she starts there. Get that out of the way so you don't forget.
That's
and
really
then you
good.
can, then you start breaking it in. I know a lot of my friends, that's the first thing they say too, right? The way to win is to have the most victory points at the end of the game. Okay, well, why do you say that? Well, because now I'm going to tell you how you get victory points and teach games. So they seem to start with that, and that seems to be a successful guiding principle for teaching games. So, hey, take that. If that works for you, great. If it doesn't,
I'll try it.
Whatever works.
My wife sometimes, for the bigger games, she likes to know. She's like, so what are we doing here? And a lot of the big games have that kind of paragraph at the beginning of the rule book, like that set the scene and give the story, or like, you are ancient philosophers doing this, and she likes that because she's like, what am I trying to do in this game? I should probably start with the scoring conditions just because that's the bit I always forget because it's at the end of the rule book.
Right. That is generally true. It is at the end of the book, and then you forget.
And you get the bigger games as well, as you're teaching, you're like, and then you get this card, and I'll get back to that in a minute because you keep forking off in different things.
Right.
But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's why a good rule book is so important. If you're interested, let's see, top 3 games where the rule book is laid out really well for you to learn it as well as teach it. And some of these are big games. An Age Contrived, that rule book is laid out so beautifully. Like you pick it up and you can go page by page and just start the teach. Civolution's another one. It's got it's a really good laid out rule book that makes the teach done well. And then Men Nefer. I think people are tired of hearing me talk about it. So Civolution and Men Nefer, we both played at the beginning of this year at Geekway Mini. We each at the Play the Win library, so we both, like, I want a copy of Men Nefer, she won a copy of Civolution. So yeah, it was really easy for us to learn it at the table at the moment. And Katie has Men Nefer is so complicated because there's so many actions available to you. And I've talked about this game until I'm blue in the mouth. So the theme really informs the gameplay. So
that's always good.
That is really excellent. Yeah. And then the rule book is laid out well. So those are like the top 3 games where the rule book is just like, she's got some more. I can't think of them at the moment. It's also the reason why I'm just a terrible teacher, because she teaches everything. The only game that I can teach blindfolded, everyone knows what it is. Here it comes. Obsession. Yep.
Which I've played once.
Man, we need to play that. That's what we need to do.
I played that.
If we're going to play Cockroach Poker, we'll play Obsession before or after.
That's fair.
Actually, if I have to play Cockroach Poker, and that's going to be tough for me, I should be rewarded with us getting to play Obsession afterwards.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
There you go.
I will suffer playing Obsession.
It's so painful.
Game.
It is. It's great. That's a great game. So tell people where they can find you on socials so that they can, ask you any questions about teaching or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram as alwaysplayblue. I do have a website, alwaysplayblue.com. I mostly just blog on that one. I've just put my UK Game Expo updates on there for last weekend.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I'm going to have to check that out. So that's alwaysplaysblue.com.
Always.
Yeah. So guys, thank you for watching. Thank you so much for your patience with me. Again, all your well wishes as I was struggling through bronchitis. That was not fun. Still not 100%. Hey, there we are. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Please make sure to like on Spotify or any other streaming service. The challenge, I think, is that you guys, you in the ether, you're all listening to this in your cars and then you forget to like it or leave a comment. Leave a comment. Tell us stories about games that you enjoy teaching that help build community as a call to action. Like, y'all know that's what I'm all about, right? Building community. Games you love to teach that, you can put those in the comments, YouTube, Spotify, wherever. Let us know if you have questions for me. If you have questions for Brian, maybe he's got some teaching tips because I don't have teaching tips. I don't teach, but, I know that Brian's got more games on his list that he didn't share because we kind of said 5 and we threw in a few more. So yeah, reach out, post on YouTube. We'd like to hear it. Remember, October will be the 1 year since the launch of our YouTube channel. We would like to get to 100 subscribers. We're currently at 69. It's a humble little number there, 69. So thanks again for watching. Brian, thanks for joining me. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. Also, guys, if you haven't noticed, so Brian's painting his house and he's not painting the room blue. And yes, yep. I know that you posted about that, and I figured I had to take a stab at you a little bit.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he did not paint it blue. Yep, that's okay. That's all right. We love you anyway. Thanks again for joining. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please take care, and remember to take care of each other and play more games.